So today we start Gita from verse number 54. Now before we begin, which is known as Sthita Pragya Lakshan, you can say behavior of the great. So we have a question from Prithvish. He asks that in one of our previous classes, when Gita was discussing about focusing on one single goal, and we had discussed that how multitasking is not a good thing, how focusing on 2, 3, 4 different things is not a good thing. So he says that, well, he is in college and he's studying and he also has other responsibilities, and how he can manage things in a way that he can focus on one ideal and can also take care of other things. Well, that's a good question, because on the face of it, it appears very good. But if you go a little deeper, you will realize that what Gita says is correct. When we talk about the ideal of life, when we talk about goal of life, let's make things very clear. There's a difference between the goal and the path or the way. There's a very clear difference between goal and the way. Or you can say the end and the means. There's a very clear difference. Supposing you want to cross Ganga. The goal is to cross Ganga and you need a boat. Boat is pretty important. Quite important. Boat is really important. But it is not all important. The important thing is cross Ganga. Now if boat is not available and you really need to go across, whatever means you might get, you will get across. That's the important thing. So the ideal there, the goal there, the end there is to reach the other shore. The means is boat or whatever it is. Problem with us is, shallow that we are, our minds are so limited and we have not been trained properly that we invariably confuse the means to be the end. We invariably think that the means that we take up, they are the end by itself. No, it's not that. For example, let's take the case of wealth, simple wealth. People work very hard to get some salary, to get some money. And in today's world, like when we were kids, you could carry on with your life even if you didn't have much. And in India, 80%, 85, 90% people were poor. Somehow they would manage life. Now in today's world, if somebody, say in Kolkata or in Delhi, thinks of leading a reclusive life, cut off from everything else, he just can't live. Because today, you need to pay even for water, which is a very basic thing. Now that this was unthinkable some years ago. Wherever you go, you will always be offered water and things like that. Today, even to get just clean water, to pure water, you need to pay money. You could walk, people could walk distances. Now you just can't go unless you have a bus or a train. So you need to pay for that. Now wherever you look at, you need to pay. And if you need to pay, you need money. So everybody needs money. And because everybody needs money, somehow we have got this idea that money is all important. And there are beautiful couplets that narrate that. In Hindi there is a beautiful couplet that says that money is not God, but is definitely not less than God. Money is not God, no doubt. But believe it, friend, nor it is less than God. But the moment we look at this test of truth from the aspect of the end and the means, the goal and the way, you will realize that earning wealth can never be the goal of life. It just can't be. Supposing you have huge wealth, what are you going to do with it? See, here's the question. What are you going to do with it? That means it's not an end, it's a means to something. And this has been very beautifully portrayed in that famous story of Midas touch, who, whatever he touched turned into gold. And he found that he wanted to eat and that became gold, and he touched his daughter and she turned into gold. Now he has gold, 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 gold. Midas touch. What will he do with all that gold? So gold is actually means to something. Now when you look at things, for example, marriage. In earlier times, marriage was means to something, to lead a better life, to lead the life of dharma, by which you could perform dharma. Now today we say that wherever you read in social media, you find that now there is no more marriage. It's about getting a partner. Getting a partner, the moment you use the term partner, to me, I'm talking about myself, to me, it sounds like a parasitical existence where one partner is sucking the other partner dry. And both of them are struggling. Who can suck the other one more? Things have changed. Just some years ago when we were kids, there were great teachers who, whenever they found some good student, would teach them for free. And there were also cases where a teacher would walk distances to teach a good student. And they would say that we find potential in this boy. Today, this is unthinkable. Even when you pay, and you pay through your nose to get admitted to some of these private colleges, and you find that the teachers will say that you have paid just to get admitted to the college. To learn, to study, you have to come to my tuitions. So whole thing has turned into a wealth game. Ultimately, everything has turned into a wealth game. Now we hear that this lady is filing a case simply because she wants to draw some money out of that gentleman. And that gentleman also has married that female for all the wrong reasons. Marriage is for all the wrong reasons. Earlier, the reasons were family, some kind of family tie-up, some kind of community tie-up, and the idea was both of you, husband and wife, now lead the life of dharma in a particular way. That is completely gone. So now everyone is trying to suck everybody else dry. I heard somewhere that if you want to get through back channel in medical examination, you need to pay 1 crore. That is, in millions, it's 10 million rupees. Now, supposing you pay 1 million, nothing wrong, 10 millions, you pay 1 crore. Now, once you pass out, once you become a doctor, how are you going to get that money back? Naturally, you will be sucking your patients dry. And where from those patients will get the money? They will have to suck from wherever they are. Ultimately, who remains? Nobody. Everybody is trying to suck everybody else. Without realizing that ultimately wealth is not an end by itself. Now, if you look at things, if you have some idea about things, and if you look closely at the scriptures and you try to think for yourself, you will find that ultimately there can be just 4 goals. And I've been trying to popularize these 4 goals. Of course, nobody listens to me. The first one is go all out for knowledge. And I call it vidya. Whatever knowledge, you will say that well, knowledge also is some kind of means to some end, not necessarily. Knowledge is the only thing which acts as a means and which also acts as an end. Knowledge is the pleasure by itself. And second is creating wealth for the society, because you are living in a society and you want to expand your personality. Knowledge actually expands your personality too. So you create wealth for the nation. Third is serving people, seva. You serve people because it expands your personality. And last is tyaga. Give up everything for God. So I call it Vidya, Sampad, Seva, Tyag. Now you may say that, well, how do I gain? Because, we will be discussing some of these things right now. When you go through the scriptures, scriptures are essentially the words of the greats. Scriptures are the words of the masters. And then you realize that they say that this earthly existence that we have is a temporary thing, it's a transitory thing. When nowadays I find young people telling, let's enjoy, we have only one life. Yes, in this particular body you have only one life. But in some other body you will have many more life, because you are not this body. You are something else. You are not the body. You have a body, the way you have a dress. This is what we have been discussing, and this is a fact, and this fact has been corroborated by masters of each and every religion over thousands of years. So there is no reason for us to doubt them. So when you juggle through all those things, when you try to sift through that data, as they say, big data analytics, if you bring all those data and try to sift through them, you realize that ultimately, whatever you are doing in this world, whatever you might do, ultimately they lead to one or more of these four: Vidya, Sampad, Seva, Tyag. Vidya is knowledge. For example, when you watch one of those rotten serials on television, on the one hand you are just trying to keep your mind engaged, because empty mind is a devil's workshop. You don't know what to do with your free mind. On the other hand, you also are appreciating some kind of creativity there. And appreciating creativity is some kind of paying your respect to Vidya. Although it might sound like fourth, fifth, seventh faded carbon copy. But creativity is some form of Vidya. And somewhere you are offering your gratitude. Somewhere you can say that there are aspirations within you that wants you to make a creative person. You yourself may not succeed in that, but you are paying respect to that very thing. When you read those third grade comics and those comic strips, it's the same thing. Somewhere you are respecting that ideal Vidya. Same with Sampad. We have this problem accumulating wealth for ourselves. But if you want to grow in spirituality, if you want to make the best use of this human birth that you have, you need to expand your personality. How do you expand your personality? By taking in more and more persons with you. The way a mom takes care of her husband and she also takes care of her son. Her personality has expanded. And if she has 2 or 3 kids, her personality has expanded further. Just like that, you expand your personality further by taking in the entire city where you live in, the whole country where you were born, and the entire world. Try to do something good for the humanity, create wealth for them. In the process, you will also gain something. But our problem is, first we want to gain ourselves, and the little that we can spare for charity, we just dole that out. No, not that way. Your goal would be one and only one: creating wealth for the society. Whatever it trickles out from there for you will be used by you. And that's why we are suffering, because we are not following these ideals. And ultimately, seva, service to each and everybody. Whosoever comes to you, some beggar comes to you, asks for some penny. You don't want to give, nothing wrong with it, but at least have some kind words for that person. Don't be abusive. Don't say that, get lost. Now, at home, your mom asks for a glass of water. Either you politely say that you are busy working, or bring that water with a clear idea of service. Usually what we do, neither we can deny them, And not we do that with the idea of service. We somehow manage to do it. Somehow we manage to do it. In the process, your mind gets degraded, your personality gets degraded. When you do it with a service attitude, your personality becomes powerful. Your personality becomes more coherent, cohesive. And last, of course, is tyag, renunciation. That is meant for the chosen few who give up everything for God. So, when you asked that you have many duties, definitely you will perform every duty. But your ideal will be one. It's something like, if you might have heard some orchestra, some symphony, even if you might have heard some film music, you'll find that there is one main tune, there is one note that is central, and all the other notes are secondary to it. There is a primary note and there is a secondary note. Secondary note, they are not important. Even if that secondary note is stopped, primary note will continue. Primary note must not stop. So, our scriptures say, Chhatranam Adhyanam Tapa. For a student, studying is the only tapasya. That's the only ideal. So for you, dedicating yourself to Vidya, here I dedicate myself to Vidya. Gaining knowledge, that is the only ideal for me. Everything else is secondary. Facebook is secondary, WhatsApp is secondary. So the thing is, but I can't do without Facebook. Perfectly, you go, do. Restrict yourself. Say that every day I'll be on it for half an hour. Because your mind needs some change, your mind needs some rest. Perfectly all right, nothing wrong with it. After that, there must be a clear stop, because your goal, your ideal does not permit you fiddling with Facebook and whatever the social media is. Your goal is to go all out for Vidya or Sampad. Maybe Seva. Outside these three, nothing else. And if you say that, okay, fine, when I post on Facebook, I am doing service to my friends and they get entertained. No, you are cheating yourself. And that is not your primary goal. Primary goal is to go all out for knowledge. So even if you want to entertain your friends, do that, but only for a limited period of time. Everything else is secondary to that primary goal. But when we are doing multitasking, everything becomes primary. Whatever you are doing is primary. That is not permitted. I hope the answer is clear to you, isn't it? Well, the second question is, how do we create for nation? How do we create wealth for the nation? Now, here I want to say, I said there are 4 ideals. When you look at the activities of people, and when you go through the scriptures, when you go through the texts of the whole world, you will find that ultimately there are only 4 ideals. And everybody cannot go for each of these ideals. In fact, if you have one single ideal out of these 4, you are going to be great. If you have a combination of more of this, you are slightly diluted, but even then, you are great. In the sense that at least you are following some ideal. Till we can pick up one single ideal forever. For example, I am a monk, but I myself am not fixed totally on Tyag. Tyag is a technical term I am using. Tyag means going all out for spirituality, going all out for God. I am not, because I am also pursuing Vidya. I study, I take classes, I write books, I write articles. So somewhere, I am juggling between the two, Vidya and Tyag. This itself proves that I am an inferior person. A superior person will go all out only for one. Mark it. There is never an exception. If there is a great person, know that he will be following one single ideal out of these 4. The moment you find there is a combination of 2 or more, know that he is an inferior person. And when there is no ideal as such, clearly defined ideal, he is not to be taken seriously. But somehow all of us can do these three things. For example, as I said, I'm a monk. I'm supposed to dedicate myself totally to God. And yet I'm into studying, I'm into writing. Even then two things remain, sampad and seva. I can contribute my might to the wealth of nation by not using laxity when I don't need it. We have this problem that now that there is some wealth in the country, we switch on the fan and go out. We might be returning after 6 hours. The fan is on. We switch on the air conditioner, AC. We know that we will be back after 3 hours, even then this AC is on, because when we return, we want the comfort. You can switch it off. Bear a bit. You don't have to travel AC first class if you can manage by AC 2. You don't have to travel AC 2 if you can manage by AC 3. You don't have to travel by AC 3 if you can manage by sleeper class. Of course, there is a huge difference between sleeper class of India and AC 3. There is a great difference. But your goal is not to create wealth. It is just in passing. What most of us are supposed to do is seva. For example, you are a teacher and you know that Vidya means being totally dedicated to knowledge. You are not totally dedicated to knowledge. So do what? Create wealth. But you cannot create wealth. You are a teacher. How can you create wealth for the nation? Seva. You can say that, okay, these students have come here, they are the future citizens of the country. Let me take classes in such a way and let me handle them in such a way as to I am serving Mother India. So your attitude towards your students would be, I am serving the nation by taking proper care of and taking a total and complete care of my students. Supposing you are a physics teacher in a high school, you know that you cannot be the best. You cannot be the best physics teacher. What to say of the country, not even in your city. The highest ideal is Vidya, where you have to proudly say that I am the best physics teacher in the country. If not in the country, in the state. If not in the state, at least in the city. I know my subject. I know my subject well. And that has made me humble. That has given my personality strength. So you don't have that strength. So next in order to Vidya is Sampad. Go create wealth. But you can't create wealth. You are not in that position to create wealth. Next is Seva. That's what I can do. Unfortunately today when I look at country, our India, I find that this is the unfortunate thing today in the country. Most politicians are out to loot the country. They want to become MLA MP so that they can loot. People are becoming IAS, IPS, engineers, doctors, and people are also becoming monks so that they can loot. Unfortunate. If a politician says that, okay, I am here in politics to serve the society. I will use every trick of politics, but the goal will be to serve the society. For example, Gandhiji. Gandhiji said that I want to see if I can realize God through politics. And what he did was, he used politics as a means to serve the nation. Why serve the nation? Because he wanted his own upliftment. He was not interested as such in India. He was interested in his self-realization. He wanted God realization through politics. And for that, he chose Seva as the ideal. And how exactly to work? Through Satyagraha and Ahimsa. He said truth, Satya and Agraha, that will be Ahimsa. Truth and non-violence. When I have to persuade you, I'll sit in front of you. No hiding business, Satya. And I will not, under no condition I will be violent. Even my words will be sweet. You beat me, I'll take it. And see, today we adore Gandhiji, we worship Gandhiji. you become great. So the simple thing is, now when we are discussing Gita here, it's not just out of curiosity, it's not out of fun, it's not that we want to spend some quality time. No, it's not that. We are reading masters so that we ourselves can become masters. Unless you want to be great, why read great people? When we read great people, when we read masters, the idea is that we ourselves want to become masters. We ourselves have to become great. If you don't want to become great, don't read masters. And that's why you'll find that the entire nation today doesn't read masters because they don't want to be great. On Facebook, etc., they might write, but ultimately they don't want, because if you want to be great, read masters. If you want to be real master, emulate the masters. When you study Gita, when you study Upanishads, if these books cannot take you towards God, if these books cannot take you towards self-realization, and if these books cannot make you great, well, then you might better stop reading these things. So when we are reading this, and when these books say that, okay, fine, you need to focus on one ideal. What are those ideals? We said Vidya, Sampat, Seva, Tyag. Tyag is out of question because we are not in a position to dedicate ourselves totally to God. Next comes Vidya. Most of us have crossed that age where we can acquire that knowledge. Knowledge means, for example, this kid, she is a painting, she has a degree in paints. She works for Berger Paints. So she has to say that, okay, fine, there is nothing about paint technology that I do not know. If anybody in this world knows something about paint technology, I also know about it. What to say of the country? I know everything that there is about paint technology in the whole world. And if she wants, she can put her knowledge into making wealth for the country. And when you use that wealth, it somehow serves the society. So somehow, Vidya, Sampat, Seva, these three, in fact, this was pointed out to me by a professor at Indian Institute of Management, I am Indore. He said that Vidya leads to Sampat, Sampat leads to Seva. And when you give up all three, it leads you to Tyaga. The goal, as Swami Vivekananda said, goal is to manifest the divinity within. We are divine, we are great. Actually, we are great. We think ourselves to be ordinary, we think ourselves to be small, and that's why we are suffering. We need to be great. How to make ourselves great? Because we have brought upon us the smallness of things. Get rid of this smallness. This is Tyaga. Getting rid of the small, getting anything, everything that's around us is belittling us, it's making us small. Throw them away. You can't throw them away. You don't have that strength. You can't focus only on God. You can't focus only on Atman. Fine. Go all out for learning. But the moment you go all out for learning, you will forget everything else and you will grow. You can't do that. Create wealth if you have talent. It will make you grow, like Tatas. See, a household name, they're great. They created wealth for the nation. And there are other family houses. They created wealth only mainly for themselves. But Tatas are respected simply because they created wealth for the nation. And then you have Seva. A girl, a young girl in college, she might be admired for her beauty, for her elegance and everything. But she is really adored. She is respected only when she becomes a mom. Because she serves. A mom serves her child. And that's why she is respected. A grandmom serves many more. And that's why she is respected many more. When you serve others, more number of people get served by you, more respect you get. And, this is the most unfortunate thing about India, that the Shudras, they serve the society and yet they were not respected. That was the curse that came on India. And India has to pay this dearly. India has to pay a very heavy price for it. Forget about giving them respect. India did not even give them their individuality. That identity also they did not give. Because person See, I myself have seen in my young days, because now of course I don't interact much with the society, so I don't have much knowledge of it. But in our young days we have seen the lower castes, how they used to serve everybody. During festivals, you would find people coming to sell their products, like earthenwares and baskets and things like that, because they knew that they would need. They also needed money, but they always came with the idea that you should not be inconvenienced. That's the great service they were committing. And how unfortunate that India did not respect this service. And today India is paying the price, and India will continue to pay the price for it. If you don't pay respect to people who have served you, and served you not for centuries, for millennia, you are going to pay the price for it. And of course, the ultimate is Tyaga. So how do you create wealth for the nation? By every small act. Don't waste money. Save money. By saving money, you will say that, well, that money gets saved for my household. That's national saving. Otherwise you would have invested. Nobody is in the room and the fan is on and the switch is on. I remember one small story I had read it long ago in Reader's Digest, that one young man got a job. His father came to visit him, and after getting job for some years, he had purchased a house of his own. And then his father came to visit him, and the son very proudly took him to each and every room. And while coming out, his father would switch on all the lights and all the fans. And the son would go back, switch off things. Then next room, and finally they went to basement, and there also the father did the same thing. Then the son asked, Papa, why are you doing this crazy thing? Said, son, I've been waiting for last 20 years to take revenge on you. You also used to switch on all the fans and lights, and I used to go and switch them off. So I've been waiting for this day to teach you a lesson. See, this is the thing. The elderly know that we shouldn't waste. It's not only the wastage of money, it's also a wastage of national resources. So every penny that you save is a saving for the nation. Ultimately, you are contributing to the national wealth. So this boy wants to make movies, and he says that he wants to serve the societies. Every time I meet somebody in the society, a politician, he says he's serving the society. And a doctor, he says he's serving the society. And then an engineer says he's serving the society. How is serving the society? There is actually I'm copying this from some other author, but basically it's about by unburdening our load. How they serve? By unburdening our load. Load of what? Money. The money that we have in our pockets, we have to, it's a weight. No? You don't like to carry weight. And they unburden us by taking the money away from our pocket. They say that it's too heavy on your body, so let me take. That's the only service they do. So doctors are unburdening you, and the engineers are unburdening you, and the politicians are unburdening you, and the police and the court and everybody is trying to unburden you, and that's how they serve. Well, if that is service, then everybody is serving. When I was a young monk, young brahmachari, I remember two incidents, and that will give you some idea. First is when you cheat straight in the name of service. You say that you are serving, but actually you are cheating. You go to a doctor, he says he is serving the society, and he recommends all the unnecessary tests for you. What kind of service is this? Anyway, and second is the person who is a fool and he is yet trying to serve. Like you might have read that famous story that someone had a monkey he had trained a monkey, and he had put that monkey on the job of fanning him when he was asleep, and there was a fly continuously sitting on the nose of his master. So that monkey was trying to move it away, but the fly was insistent and it would come and sit. So ultimately it became so furious, that monkey, it went out, took a big stone, and with that it hit that fly, in the process smashing the face of his master. This is what people who are foolish and yet want to serve others do to the society. I myself suffered twice. At Belur Math, every brahmachari has to serve in the dining hall for 2 months. And we have a very clearly defined duty. You have to do this, you have to do this. So, one day I decided to help some people, and I took one of those buckets and put some curry in that and started serving. And suddenly someone shouted, "Come on, what kind of bucket you are carrying?" That bucket you might have seen is painted green, and it's a sign that it's used as a dustbin. Not really dustbin. Actually, when they wash plates and all, they put the water in that. It's not full dustbin, but semi-dustbin. And then by then that person who was supposed to do original job, he came running in the dining hall and pulled me out. "Stop it, nonsense." And then that whole thing, that curry that I had kept in that bucket had to be thrown away. And similarly, once I found that tap was on and the water was going down the drain. So I went and closed the tap. And suddenly that infuriated guardian came running. He said, "Who asked you to close that tap? I'm cleaning this drain, and that's why the tap is on." Now see, then I went and told a senior that, "See, I tried to serve and this is what happened." He said, "To serve, you need knowledge. Without first getting trained, you went to serve. That's the problem." There's a famous writer, P.G. Woodhouse, and he used to write very funny stories. And in that, there is one character, and he has a nephew who has to do some 2 acts per week or something like Boy Scout and all. So he said he would clean the chimney of the house without informing anybody. And that boy got dynamite from somewhere and put in the chimney to clean the chimney. You see, this is the kind of service we keep on doing. We want to serve the society. Neither we have the means, nor we have any kind of wherewithal. We don't even have the proper training. And as a consequence, we do more harm to the society than we do good. So when you say that you want to make movies to serve the society, know that you are harming yourself and you are harming others because you are not trained into it. So there is another question. If imparting of knowledge by a teacher is creating the wealth, there wealth creation means that creation has to be in millions and billions, where the entire country or a better part of the country will be served. As we mentioned, even if you save electricity in the house, it's contributing to the wealth of the nation. And we also mentioned that whatever you do, somehow these 4 are linked. So a teacher doesn't really create wealth the way we understand it, because here sampad is a technical term that we are using. Sampad really means creating wealth like Tatas, where thousands and thousands get employed by you. Even if somebody is supposing starts a tailoring shop, I know some people, and I keep on telling that, see, your goal would be seva and your goal will be wealth. Create wealth for the nation. That means you do such work that some people will come to you for employment, and so that you can employ people. Now the moment you are giving them employment, now you are creating wealth for the nation. And you are also serving the nation. And for that you must have vidya. Unless you have mastered something, you cannot serve the society. Vidya of what? Tailoring, fashion design, etc. The problem with us is we are so ordinary. We are so ordinary that we end up doing very ordinary things. And if we can somehow take up this ideal, and when Gita talks about Bhaushakhai anantascha buddhayo vyavasahinam, first thing is, we don't even go for the ideals. We invariably go for the way. We focus on the means. The way we explain that means, like wealth. Wealth is just a means. Money is just a means to something else. The ultimate goal has to be the growth of your personality. When you acquire wealth, your personality doesn't grow, it's of no use. So, first thing is, you must know what is your ideal. And even in that ideal, you shouldn't be moving into too many ideals. And as far as the means are concerned, There also you need to curtail the number of means. If you don't, you will suffer. So these ideas need to be very, very clear. That's what Gita had discussed.